bathhouse is a one-story stuccoed building with stained glass windows and clay roof tiles. 10-foot-tall walls enclose a large courtyard outside the southeast corner of the building. The closed wooden doors to the courtyard are engraved with images of smiling nymphs dancing and frolicking in water. The L-shaped courtyard features a trimmed lawn and nicely manicured shrubbery. The yard is decorated with white marble benches and stone fountains, each in the form of a smiling nymph tipping a water jug that spills over into a circular stone basin. The walls of this 20-foot-high pillared chamber are adorned with frescoes of bathing royalty. Natural light streams through the stained glass windows, creating colorful patterns on the tiles of polished blue marble that cover the floor. 3 shallow sunken pools contain scintillating perfume-scented water. White marble benches bearing stacks of dry towels are situated near the pools, each of which comes equipped with a pair of brass faucets. 3 wooden beams brace the ceiling of this flooded chamber, which features a stone altar covered with entrails in the northeast corner. Hanging on the wall above the altar is a 3-foot-tall steel mask cast in the form of a frowning human skull. Lying on the floor of this otherwise empty room are the pale bodies of 3 humans in filthy black robes, arranged in a triangular formation. A lit torch lies between them. A rough-hewn staircase to the left leads down to another torch-lit chamber. The eastern part of this room is unlit and flooded. It is braced floor to ceiling with wooden beams. Rough-hewn steps rise out of the murky water to the western portion of the room, which is dry and lit by 2 torches in sconces that flank a stone altar. Shackled to the wall behind the altar is a sickly man in a loincloth with a burlap sack over his head. An alcove in the north wall contains a freestanding suit of plate armor missing its helm. Standing before the altar are 2 grim figures, a powerfully built woman clutching a mace and an even bigger man wearing a bucket helm. The helmed man is jabbing the prisoner with a spear, causing him to twitch. Both figures are clad in chainmail, and the woman carries a wooden shield with a leering skull painted on it. This partially collapsed room has 3 wooden beams bracing its ceiling. Situated between the beams is a scorched wooden table with a human cadaver resting atop it. A frighteningly thin woman in a black robe is studying the corpse, her face largely hidden under a cowl. Around her feet creep a swarm of skeletal rats. This dry and partially collapsed room contains a stone altar with humanoid skulls and bones piled around it. The top of the altar is covered with dozens of half-melted candles made of black wax, all currently unlit. 6 moaning humans with rotting flesh shamble about this dusty crypt which reeks of death. An open stone sarcophagus rests against the back wall, its shattered lid lying in pieces on the floor around it. The walls and floor of this room are covered with streaks and splashes of dried blood. Two dangling bodies are shackled to the east and south walls. One is an elderly male human, the other a young female tiefling. Both are covered in bloody gashes, and neither is moving. In the middle of the room is a sturdy wooden chair with a bloody whip draped over it. A bucket half filled with salt sits on the floor nearby. 4 flickering torches in wall sconces illuminate this crypt, the middle of which is occupied by an open stone sarcophagus. The sarcophagus bears no carvings or other ornamentation, but is full of humanoid skulls and bones. 6 dusty bedrolls lie on the floor around it. 4 flickering torches in wall sconces light this partially collapsed crypt. An open sarcophagus in the middle of the area is filled to the rim with blood, with spillage streaking the sides of the sarcophagus and pooling around its base. The sarcophagus lid lies half buried under rubble behind it. Beyond the hall, a flooded chamber opens with rough-hewn steps climbing to the south, north, and northeast. The floor buckles up above the waterline in the middle of the room, forming a small island. Corpses and doused torches float on the water around the island, atop which 2 men circle each other with weapons bared. One of the men, a tall, unarmored brute with a great club and a scarred face, towers above his opponent, but is gravely wounded. The smaller figure is covered in long flowing robes. He clutches a bloody dagger in one hand and a torch in the other. Burned torch stubs litter the floor of this hall, the western end of which is occupied by 3 6-foot-tall painted wooden statues. Each statue stands atop a 2-foot-high block of red stone, making it look taller and more foreboding. The center statue resembles a heavily armored man whose face is hidden behind the fearsome visor of his helmet. He's painted red except for his right gauntlet, which is black. Clutched in his gauntlet is a blood-red spear pointing upwards. The statue to the north depicts a purple-garbed male noble wearing a harlequin mask and holding a dagger behind his back. The statue to the south portrays a black-robed skeleton with its jaw wide open and its bony hands outstretched.